We're very excited to welcome Miss Keara Schwartz. She is the CEO of Share Some Sugar and a high-level ranking person at Procter & Gamble, and she's going to talk to you tonight about the proliferation of stuff.
All right, who here has a room in their house, a garage, a closet that looks something like this, filled with a lot of shit that you don't use? You know you have it, yeah. All you guys. I do too. Actually, that's a picture of my neighbor's garage. He shares it with me, and it's filled with shit. We collect a lot of shit because when we need to go camping, we buy a tent, a canopy, we buy a camping chair. $200 later, we spend all this money, go camping for 3 days, and all that shit just sits in our closet or our garage, again, collecting all of this dust, and we don't end up using it. Let's go back to 1952, to Brooklyn, New York. That's a picture of my grandfather. He actually, when he needed to mow his lawn, he would walk down the street and he would ask his neighbor, Mr. Lowenstein, if he could borrow his lawnmower. How did he know he had a lawnmower? Because back then, neighborhoods actually felt like communities. Let's go all the way 7,000 miles to Uganda. That's my friend Robert. Robert owns a chicken stand. When I was there, his chicken stand broke. What did he do? He walked down the street and he asked a guy he knew if he could borrow some of his tools, and then he returned them. So why is it today in our society that we feel the need to own things? Everything, every single thing that we need, we go out and we buy. However, in developing countries, people still understand the value of items, and you only buy stuff that you actually use, and you can share everything else. It just makes a lot of sense. Actually, owning stuff doesn't even equal happiness. In the United States, the average buying power has almost tripled since the 1950s, and reported happiness has remained almost unchanged. So that Coach purse, not necessarily going to make you happy for the rest of your life. Funny thing about all of this is that I actually studied industrial design, which is all about creating stuff, creating a vacuum that's more ergonomic to use, or remote control that's more intuitive. There's a lot of value in that, but it's still about generating stuff. And where does that stuff go? Well, it ends up in the landfill. So as a designer, I would spend 8 months designing the ideal power washer, and then that didn't feel really good to know that it's just going to end up in the landfill or sitting in your closet not being used. I wanted to do something about it. So I was determined to do something about it, but I was a little bit confused. Okay, what do I want to do? So I decided, do I want to create beautiful stuff in this world and just be a designer, or do I want to do something that actually might help the world, something that might have less impact on the environment, like environmental studies? Well, I was determined to combine both together. So I moved to New York, and I started working for Aveda, and we created retail environments all out of environmentally friendly materials. When I lived in New York, I lived in a teeny little apartment, probably the size of some of your closets. I didn't have much stuff, and there was no room to store stuff. But when I moved to Cincinnati, Ohio, I found myself owning a house. When you own a house, you need to fill it with a lot of stuff. You also need tools to hang your pictures and gardening equipment. But as a 24-year-old female back then, I wanted to spend my money on things that I used daily, things that I really valued, like my running shoes that I used all the time, vacations with my family and friends, and healthy food. I didn't want to spend my money on a rototiller, a power drill, and a ladder. But I still needed that ladder. So I walked around my neighborhood to see if I could borrow a ladder. Couldn't find one. So I went online and said, okay, how much could it cost to buy a ladder? Well, I found that there were 126,000 ladders that showed up that I could buy. So in the age of the internet, you can go online and you can watch the World Cup from across the world. You can create a whole new world on Second Life and learn how to build a car from scratch online. But why is it that you can't find a ladder in your own neighborhood? Well, I did something about it, and now you can. I created a website called Share Some Sugar. And it's a place where you can find someone in your neighborhood who's willing to lend or rent you something that you need. So all that stuff that you already own, you can put it online and share it with other people. And you can borrow the stuff that you need. So think about it. If you live in an apartment building and you need a vacuum, well, now you can go online and you can find somebody in your own building that has a vacuum that you can borrow. You'll save yourself some money. You'll lower your environmental footprint by consuming less. And you'll meet a new neighbor, maybe even fall in love. So, since I've launched in November of 2009, over 1,600 members have joined, over 6,600 items have been posted, like Candace, who's sharing her pink golf clubs. But we've listened really carefully to our members, and they told us they want to be able to borrow and share stuff with people that they already know. So tonight at Ignite Cincinnati, I am launching phase 2 of ShareSomeSugar.com, which is all about social integration. So now you can go online and you can share stuff with people that you already know in your network. We've incorporated Facebook into the website. So you can create your own sharing group. And you can invite people directly from Facebook into your sharing group. So when you go online and you want to borrow something like a tent, You can actually search within your group of friends and your larger network to find that tent, and also your neighbors. So I ask you, when you receive my email tomorrow, inviting you to the first ever Share Some Sugar sharing group exclusively for Ignite Cincinnati, that you join, and you invite your friends and you create your own sharing groups and help me reach my goal of getting 10,000 new members in the next 3 months.
Share some sugar for Miss Keara Schwartz. And I'll have you know, I just lent 6 fedoras tonight online on Share Some Sugar. So if you're wanting a fedora, you can get one from sharesomesugar.com.